Am I the jerk for not letting my partner stay in my house for 2 months for his brother to stay in his bedroom? I am a 22-year-old woman, and my boyfriend is 21. We have not finished our bachelor's degrees yet, and the only income I have is from my internship. I live alone in a 1-bedroom apartment that belongs to my father because it is closer to college than my parents' house. I pay for my food, transportation, electricity, college fees, and other expenses, while my dad pays for the condominium fees and water in his apartment. My boyfriend lives with his mother in a 2-bedroom apartment. One room is for him, and the other is for her. He has a 27-year-old brother who lives in another country and earns a salary higher than both of their parents' combined income. Every time his brother comes to visit, he and the family force my boyfriend to give up his room so that the brother can stay there during his visit, which lasts around 2 months and occurs twice a year. Additionally, my boyfriend's family expects me to host him in my apartment during this period. In the past, when my boyfriend stayed at my place for months after having several fights with his family, for reasons such as previously having to share the room with the said brother, where my boyfriend would sleep on the floor while his brother slept in the loft bed, it wasn't good for him because he didn't have a space to call his own. It wasn't good for me because I felt burdened with the responsibility for my boyfriend, and it strained my relationship with my parents as they didn't agree with him living with me. Besides my boyfriend being treated worse than his brother, my family and I have always been treated worse than his brother's girlfriends. We've been together for over 3 years, and his family has never met my family, never invited us for a meal, or visited my parents' house. They have hosted his brother's girlfriend's family several times, and they have never spoken to my dad. This time, when his brother came, my boyfriend's family decided on our behalf that he would stay with me while his brother stayed in his room, without even considering my opinion, because they believe it's my duty to do so. I said no, and now his family is upset with me. Things to consider on my side: his brother has the money to rent a place. His brother is much older. His brother is not dependent on their parents. That is no longer his brother's house. Things to consider on his brother's side: he's going to have knee surgery and will need to rest for a week. My boyfriend said it is okay for him to stay in his bedroom during this period, but 2 months is a little too much. To sum up, their mother said that she prefers the older brother and that the older brother will stay in the room because she is the one who makes the rules in the house. She also said that what I'm doing is wrong because I stayed in my boyfriend's grandmother's house for 2 weeks when there was a huge storm and flood in my state, and a lot of people died. You did nothing to be ashamed of. Your boyfriend's mother is a piece of work. His family needs to reconsider their relationship with their youngest son, and he needs to get away from his mother ASAP. Your boyfriend's parents don't get to decide who stays at your parents' condo, and going against their wishes could put your own living situation at risk. He really needs to find a place with roommates so the golden child won't affect him. Am I the jerk for only getting one of my children a pet? I am a single father with 3 sons: Felix, who is 20 years old, Marcus, who is 13 years old, and Adam, who is 11 years old. They each have different mothers. 2 weeks ago, for Adam's 11th birthday, I got him a leopard gecko. I was struggling with deciding what to get him for a birthday present, and my friend, who works at a reptile store, mentioned they had had a leopard gecko surrendered to them a few days previously. Adam had been begging me for a while for us to get a new pet. I had been open to the idea, and we had already discussed what he and his brothers might like. I knew the gecko would be a great gift as he had been specifically adamant about wanting a reptile. He was happy with his gift. I ended up getting the gecko for $30, and I already owned most of what I needed for the enclosure, so I only spent about $50. However, the gift has since caused issues. Although he said nothing to me, Marcus was apparently less than impressed with Adam getting a pet as a gift, specifically because I have never bought him a pet of his own, and he is older. Marcus's mother called me upset and argued with me about the gift. She argued I cannot get Adam his own pet if I never did the same for Felix or Marcus, and that it is another example of favoritism. I am obviously hurting for my son if he is upset about this. It is still unclear if he is or if it is his mother who has the problem, but I do not agree with her reasoning. Adam lives with me for around 60% of the year. His mother lives very close to me, and we used to split custody evenly, but these days Adam chooses to spend more time with me. However, Marcus lives in a different city just under 3 hours from where I live. He goes to school in his mother's city, so I only have him every other weekend and half of the school breaks. Having a pet at my home does not make as much sense, since he would not really be able to care for it. On top of this, I am expecting Adam to do the majority of care for the gecko. This would not be feasible for Marcus, who would not be here most of the time. Marcus has also shown way less interest in animals, and specifically reptiles, compared to Adam, so I never really considered that getting him his own pet would be a great gift. Marcus's mother always argues I show Adam favoritism just because he lives with me more. This is frustrating, especially as it was her who moved cities and is the reason we cannot do split custody. Marcus got a lot for his birthday: a video game, sneakers, Lego sets, and I took him to a baseball game. Am I the jerk? Have I really done something awful here, or is my ex overreacting? You haven't done anything wrong. You made a thoughtful decision based on the circumstances. Marcus can't have an animal with you since he only spends 4 days a month there, and it's just not practical. His mother is likely just stirring the pot, so it's best to ignore that and talk to Marcus directly to see how he feels. At the end of the day, you bought a meaningful birthday present for your kid, and there's nothing wrong with that. Am I the jerk for not going on a family trip because they won't let us bring my fiancé's dog along? My 24-year-old female parents, 60-year-old male, 48-year-old female, planned a mini 3-day family trip as they do every year. They invited both my fiancé, 28-year-old male, and my younger brother's girlfriend. I have been dating my fiancé for over 2 years, but we got engaged just about 3 months ago. My brother, 20-year-old male, has been dating his girlfriend since 9th grade, so she is like family. For my fiancé, that was not the case. He did not join any of our previous family trips when we were just dating. This was going to be his first time joining us. I was so excited. Let me start by saying this. My fiancé's dog is not just a pet. She is a seeing eye dog. He is fully visually impaired and he needs her. She is not just our pet, but also basically his mobility aid. She is also the sweetest, most calm dog you will ever see. When my mom found out we were planning to bring her with us, she was surprised and asked me if we really thought bringing the dog along was a good idea. I said, of course. What else did she think was going to happen? Apparently that was a ridiculous idea. They love her but certainly do not want her on the family trip. I told her I am sorry, but that is not an option. If she wants us to be there, the dog will also be there. Every time we went on a trip with my fiancé, she was always there and never caused an issue. My mom told me she respects that. We can spend our couple trips however we want, but this is a family trip, and we must respect their wishes. I did not know what to say to that. The only thing I could say is I am sorry, but we cannot attend if they do not let us bring my fiancé's seeing eye dog. Then she got furious. She started calling me names and told me I am being ungrateful and disrespectful. I did not want to argue with her anymore, so I just hung up the phone. Then my dad called me to fix things. He said it is just a 3-day trip, and I could very well guide my fiancé if I wanted to. I am the one making things harder, and even if he cannot join, I should still come. This made me lose it completely. I told him if my brother's girlfriend is going to be there, my fiancé should absolutely be there. I am not making anything harder. They are the ones making this harder. Honestly, this is textbook discrimination. My dad completely dismissed me, telling me to shut up and that if they were bigots, they would not have let me get engaged to him. They always let him bring her to family dinners. This is the one time they asked for a favor. I should have been more understanding. He said I should be ashamed for making my mom cry when all she wanted was a small trip with both her kids. Now I feel as if I am a horrible daughter. Am I the jerk? Your parents are being ridiculous, and I hope you can show them a bunch of posts from here that agree with this. Even in shopping malls and restaurants with strict no animal rules, they allow guide dogs. Would they insist on your fiancé leaving their wheelchair behind? It's completely unreasonable to expect a service animal to be left behind if the person who needs its help is going on a trip. Am I the jerk for picking up a lost Apple Watch? A few weeks ago, I was out sightseeing with my family. I was at a small waterfall when my mother saw an Apple Watch lying off the road, covered in dirt. As there was no security or guard at that place, we waited for 10 minutes to see if someone would come to pick it up. We had already spent about 30 minutes at that location, and no one else came during that time. We thought someone might actually steal it, so we picked up the watch, thinking we would somehow be able to contact the owner and return it to them. We did not know how yet. I do not own an iPhone, but my family does, and I knew Apple has the Find My network, which would be able to use my family's iPhone to send the owner the location of the watch. We left the waterfall and went to a nearby park. This was all happening on the outskirts of the city, and the police stations were in the city, so I had to wait for a couple of hours before I could visit the police station. While I was looking online to see how I could contact the owner of a lost Apple Watch, I saw a young man and his father at the park, flustered and restless. They saw us and inquired if we had seen an Apple Watch. I instantly smiled and handed him his watch. I was happy. I think they were able to track the watch thanks to Apple's Find My device network. But then he started accusing my family and me of stealing and running away with his watch. He said he had just taken the watch off to wash his hands at the waterfall. I didn't see him there. He said I should not take others' belongings and run away. He mentioned that tourists are the worst and local people would never steal the watch, so I should not have picked it up and let it be. I tried to explain to him that I never tried to power it off and was constantly checking if it would show lost contact information, which it didn't. I didn't deny having the watch when he asked. I told him I was worried someone might actually steal it, and hence thought I would take it to the police station. I showed him how I was trying to contact the owner on my phone's search history, but the young man and his father were quite agitated and weren't listening to me or my family. They just kept on saying that I shouldn't have picked it up, how locals would never do it, and how tourists misbehave. Eventually they left, saying something in the local language. It kind of bummed all of us out for the whole day. Am I the antagonist for picking up that guy's watch? What is the standard operating procedure for finding expensive items? You behaved properly. You acted with good intentions by picking up the watch and trying to return it. It's understandable that the owner might have been upset, but you did what you could to find and return it. Honestly, it seems that the people who first accused you of theft would most likely steal it and can't think of anyone doing it out of goodness. Am I the jerk if I don't let my parent walk me on a special occasion, even though it's their fault? I am an 18-year-old female, a senior in high school this year, and I'm grappling with a tough decision about who should walk me on my senior nights. My father remarried when I was 3 to someone I'll call Mary, who brought her son, Tyler, into our lives. Tyler was 3 years older than me. My parents had a 50-50 custody arrangement, so I would stay with my mother Monday and Tuesday, my father Wednesday and Thursday, and alternate weekends. When I was 4 and Tyler was 7, he began mistreating me. My father dismissed my claims, accusing me of lying to get Tyler in trouble. This continued for a year until I confided in my mother, who then sought full custody. My father and Mary sided against me, claiming I was lying, and that my mother was planting ideas in my head. It was decided informally that I would stay with my father's parents during his custodial time. This arrangement eventually led to me living permanently with my grandparents when I was 10. During this period, my father struggled with an opioid addiction, often leaving me with Mary and Tyler, who treated me poorly. My grandfather became my father figure, attending all my events and supporting me in every way. When I was 12, my father divorced Mary after getting clean. He moved out, and his custody agreement with Mary became similar to my mother's arrangement with me. My father has never taken responsibility for his actions or the trauma he caused. He remains the only person who can manipulate and gaslight me effectively, which he knows and uses to his advantage. As I've grown and recognized the impact of his behavior, our relationship has deteriorated. My relationship with my grandmother is also strained because she refuses to acknowledge my father's wrongdoing and continues to support his habits. Now, as I approach senior nights for my high school dance and figure skating teams, I'm conflicted about who should walk me. I plan to have my grandfather accompany me for the figure skating senior night. However, I'm unsure if I should let my father walk me on the other senior nights. All my friends believe my grandfather is my father, and while I feel my grandfather deserves to be honored, I also worry that not having my father walk me might lead to emotional manipulation and guilt. So, am I the antagonist if I don't have my father walk me on a senior night? You are not in the wrong here. He didn't put in the work, so he doesn't get to enjoy the rewards. Why are you spending so much effort thinking about him and his feelings when he hasn't given a damn about yours for the past 15 years? He wasn't there for the tough times, so why should he get the credit now? Your grandfather stepped up. Have him walk you. Am I the jerk for asking my brother to be in my wedding instead of my dad? My parents, a 52-year-old male and a 51-year-old female, divorced when I was 5 after my dad cheated on my mom with a woman twice his age. I took it quite hard, especially when my dad started making me stay the night with him at his mistress' house and got mad at me when I didn't want to. While he paid my mom child support and helped me when I needed to move or had car issues, he also only paid me attention when he was single. He married 3 times and divorced twice, including once to a woman only 7 years older than me who hated me. He talked negatively about my mom and maternal grandmother for no reason, accusing them of making him look bad, which they didn't. On weekends in high school, he left me by myself to go to the bar when I drove an hour and a half to see him. He got mad at my grandparents for wanting to give him money to help me buy a car because that was his job. He stopped giving me allowance because his wife at the time didn't want him to. He got super religious and told me women weren't supposed to lead but follow in relationships. He promised to be more present in my life but didn't follow through. I am getting married in a little over a month. I am not religious like my dad, and I am not traditional at all. I don't like the message of the father giving the daughter to her husband, so I asked a non-parental figure, my brother, to escort me at my wedding. I knew this would bother my dad as his view of marriage is that it's holy, and that it's his right and honor as a dad to give me away. So I made sure to include a father-daughter dance, even though I didn't want one, as a compromise. I messaged my dad to ask for some contact information for other relatives about the wedding. He decided that was the appropriate time to tell me that he picked up and moved to another state, 10 hours away, without telling me, and asked when he needed to be in for the wedding. I used this time to tell him that he's not in the ceremony, but that he's invited to the rehearsal and has a father-daughter dance at the reception. He did not respond to me for 3 weeks, and I got a message this past weekend that said, "I will not be attending your wedding. I was concerned ever since you got engaged that I would be left out of the ceremony, and I can't pretend to be happy to be on the sidelines. I love you, and I grieve our relationship. I will pray that one day we will find a way to be in each other's life." I understand why he was upset, but I also think that he chose to sideline himself up to this point, and he should not feel entitled to this role. I think you are not in the wrong here. Your father has consistently shown a lack of commitment and involvement in your life, so it's understandable that you would choose to involve someone who has been more present and supportive, like your brother. It's unfortunate that he has chosen not to attend your wedding, but it's a decision that ultimately reflects his priorities and values. You honestly may enjoy the wedding more without him anyway. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.